So I'm not a hardliner one way or the other on gun control, but I think it's if you're going to commit murder, the fact that it's also a violation of a gun law, it just seems kind of pointless.
Well, I mean,
what's the difference?
We have these shootings in the workplaces. We have these shootings at high schools and on college campuses. We have the assassination of a murder of abortion doctors and so on. And we've got a politics that's, very much infused with, right to bear arms ideology. Mm-hmm. Isn't this telling us something, quite apart from the policy question? Should it be 1,000 feet, 500 feet, or no prohibition at all? Should there be a 3-month waiting period? Should there be a review board? Should there be licensing for this or that? Should there be a limit on the size of the ammunition clip that you can purchase? Are pistols okay, but not semi-automatic pistols, and all of this kind of stuff? Quite apart from that, isn't there something about American culture, love affair with guns, that's troubling? And isn't this idea that, the criminals have guns, I have to have guns too? Or this idea that someone who had been packing, if they had had their gun, they could have kept this thing. Isn't there something almost silly about this argument? Okay, now I reveal my position. Silly about this notion that if we were all armed, we'd be able to keep the criminals from doing something. Whereas, in my view, if we were all armed, we'd probably have 100 times as many accidental shootings of people who were thought to be a threat, but it turned out later that they were just reaching for their wallet, I mean, everybody would be in the position of a black teenager on a dark street at 2 a.m. in the environs of New York City, where a police officer feels that if his car, the teenager's car, is moving at too high a speed and in too irregular way, it's quite all right to open fire on them. We'd all be living under the threat of being shot down by armed vigilantes if we were to let this thing have its free reign, it seems to me.
Well, it seems to me we don't have that much shooting going on, and we have an awful lot of guns. The kind of guns that I like the way people have guns in their homes to defend themselves, so I think there's a particularly strong benefit to having people have guns in their houses. I mean, I think it deters burglary. I celebrate everybody who has a gun in their house because I think it makes it less likely. I think that the people who don't have guns in their houses are benefited by the fact that the burglars don't know where the guns are.
Well, the evidence is very spotty on the causal effect and diminishing crime of private gun carriage. And you say we don't have that many shootings, but as you must know, the murder rate in the United States dwarfs that in comparable advance to Western countries in Europe or Canada or whatever. They're right across the border there in Canada. Their society is very similar to ours. They have many fewer guns in people's homes and many fewer dead people from guns. That doesn't prove anything. States with the highest gun ownership rate also have the highest murder rates, and the states with the lowest gun ownership rates have the lowest murder rates. Doesn't prove anything, but it's not consistent with the view that widespread gun ownership deters violence.
If you're going to talk about Canada, I'd like to see some more fine-grained comparisons. You're talking about a very northern climate that's more sparsely populated. Where are the murders in the U.S.? Aren't they in more concentrated metropolises, and aren't they more in the South and during the warmer weather? I think the Canadians are staying indoors more, and they're not out murdering each other. But, maybe they're nicer, maybe they're more polite, maybe they resolve their disputes more amicably. But what are you going to do about all of this? We have the culture that we have, and what do you think, how do you want to try to change it?
Well, you can push against, I agree. We have the culture we have, and it's not going to change readily or easily or quickly. But you can either go with it or you can push against it. You can call us to higher ground and point out the irrationality of the way that we live and around guns and gun violence. I find it really quite irrational, but we probably differ about that. Or you can sort of go with the flow and say, that's the hand we've been dealt.